tell me about the review corner, and then we can get
It's
out
not
of
a
here.
review
Stop
corner,
wasting
but
people's
you
time.
argued with me in a previous episode about my game idea that I'm trying to develop. The Fantasy Forest game, specifically for Forest fans. And you put it out there saying, does anyone interested? If anyone's interested, they'll get in touch. And someone did, but you only put it on an Instagram story. I was like, that's why it's only one person, mate. Get it on Twitter.
I'm not going to do a Twitter post or an Instagram post about Forest Fantasy Fives. We get more than one people looking at our stories, by the way. One person reached out, probably just to wind me up. But Adam reached out and wants to know the scores. He did actually message me today asking about the scores.
There you go. Guys, we're playing Forest
I
Fantasy
will release
Fives.
it, but I can't.
If you're interested,
Forest fans aren't going to be
drop this
interested
a like,
in that. They'll be
drop a
interested in
little
Newcastle
post on
game.
it, and this guy will just doesn't even have to do anything. He can just let me know next week if anyone's interested, even hearing about how to play and how much fun it could be.
We have Stuart, who is in Dusseldorf, and he's been there a number of years now, and he wants to have a chat. So we might get Stuart from Dusseldorf on. That's pretty cool, isn't it? I don't know if we've had a Germany Forest all over the world yet, have we? We must have.
No, we've not. It'd be very welcome. It'd be lovely to get him on. We've also not had a native foreigner for a while, have we?
What do you mean? Someone who's specifically from? Well, what about Chief?
A German Forest fan? Yeah, no.
We had Chief who was on from Chicago a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah. True. I forget.
Yeah, you forget because you don't do any of it. Anyway, we'll move on to Ohio.
We
have Ohio. A couple of guys who we had who were actually from Ohio. Jacob and Dave and Homer. We've had all three of them on, not at once, but at separate occasions. Ohio had a great day out of combustion after getting 3 points on the road. Here's one for you. You're gonna love this. We had someone post up on Twitter, and we reposted it. 57 of us out in Benidorm celebrating a 50th birthday. What a win, you Reds. And there's a picture of 57 of them out in Benidorm, all wearing Forest jerseys, watching Forest win. That's pretty cool, isn't it?
Yep.
Okay. We've got the Toronto Trickies. Obviously, I'm going to give a shout out to Toronto Trickies, saying up the top four Reds. There's a picture of them out in Toronto in the LC where they watch them in general. And then we've got a really, really good one here. Richard Spray is in Oklahoma. I don't think he's been to a Forest game in about 30 years. He's travelled over to Nottingham for the game this weekend against Wolves. And he also has his own podcast, Talking Reds. So massive shout out to Richard Spray, who we might end up getting on very, very soon on here as well.
Brilliant.
That's it.
That's great. And how about you? Where did we get to last week? Give us a rundown in bullet points of what's happened since when I was in. You might notice from my attire, I'm not wearing my Jimmy hat anymore because I'm back in London. Doing this episode. So what's happened between that week when I was in Oban?
I'll give you some bullet points, right? So today, obviously, we're going to be chatting a little bit about some transfer news because things have gone a bit haywire the last couple of days with the striker rumours and stuff like that. We're also going to chat a bit about the Southampton game that we won at the weekend.
Nice.
And obviously, we're going to be chatting a little bit about Newcastle League Cup game coming up this Wednesday.
Nice.
And then I'll probably do a Wolves preview separate to that. But the bullet points for this weekend are Luton lost, Derby lost, Man United lost, Forest won. That's what they call a bumper weekend. Even Oasis are getting back together after this weekend. It's a bumper weekend, Matt. We call it a bumper weekend for a reason, and we're flying into Wolves for some playtime next week. I'm in a very, very good mood. And do you know why these weekends are so important? It's because when you get to St. Patrick's Day with Statsman Will and you're sat there on the sidelines in the rain watching Isak score in the last minute, or me and you go to Luton, or I ended up in Gillingham 20 years ago, this makes it all worth it. You get a weekend where all the teams you wanted to lose, and all the teams you wanted to win. And we got our first away win this weekend, which is absolutely massive. What are your thoughts?
Well, I was going to say what's nice is, since we started this podcast back in the summer of 2020 or the spring of 2020, when have we ever got together and recorded when we're genuinely in a place with nothing? There's no conflict. I mean, there'll be conflict, I'm sure.
Well, there will be conflict.
Yeah, but no, hear me out. There's no Forest conflict. We've always been striving for...
There will be Forest conflict as well. Go on.
We've been striving for success in the Championship and constantly disappointed. And then everything happened in 2022. And then it was striving to stay in the league, the whirlwind that has been the inflation of Forest on the Premier League world stage and everything that comes with it, as trying to stay in, as getting annoyed with points deductions, as getting annoyed with each other. Suddenly we're sitting 7th, joint 6th in the Premier League. Now, I know it's 2 games in, but how funny is it that not as I started this talking about when we started our podcast as a point of reference for time, but actually the time that I've known you, so since 2006 to now, when have you and I been mates, knowing that each other supported Nottingham Forest, and I feel so out of my depth, out of my comfort zone with Forest. No, out of my, yeah, okay, I feel very out of our Forest comfort zone without having anything to complain about, or worry about.
Be clear. Yeah, I've just got to stop you there because
this
conversation... No, but it's deja vu. I had this with you last year at the beginning of the season when we'd beaten Sheffield United at home and it's nicked a win away at Chelsea. And you started saying the same things. And you went, there's no jeopardy. So don't wish the jeopardy... I mean, do wish the jeopory away. Don't wish the calmness away. I want to relax and enjoy this season.
I don't think we were ever joint 6th in the Premier League last year, were we?
By the way, it's... 2 games in, so I don't know
I've
where
already
we were
established
after a game
that.
or 2.
I was just checking when we beat Chelsea, and I was saying this feels good. I'm saying right now, simply on league position, it's so weird.
2 games in. Why are you? No,
when have we ever been 2 games into a Premier League season before and been this high in the table?
Somebody who's listens to our audio episodes, please go back and get one of the ones after Chelsea where Matt started talking about how the fact that there's no jeopardy right now, and then all of a sudden the season sort of slowly nosedive. So please do me a favor, if anyone's listening
how to spin a positive, a fun moment of thinking about your football team into a negative in 20 seconds by Chris Aylmer.
No, I'm not spinning it into negative. I'm not spinning it into a negative. I'm just saying that, like, you've done this before. It's very predictable. And then something happens around the corner and you start to panic.
I'm merely saying, how nice is it? We're doing a podcast.
What you're saying. It is nice. I started the podcast by talking about the bumper weekend and how amazing the bumper weekend was.
And I was going, yes and, Chris. I was going, yes and this.
Okay,
and you were going, no, not that.
Yes and that.
Not that.
No, because you say the same stuff. Sorry. You're acting like I haven't seen this movie before.
Yeah.
I have. So just relax. Yes, it's amazing. We have to stand on these mountains and moments and be excited for what's happening right now. But we also have to recognize that you've said this stuff before. It's almost like you want the jeopardy. I don't want the jeopardy. I actually enjoy this right now. I enjoy the calm. I enjoy the just sitting out by the seaside going, Forest will probably win today, maybe, you know? I actually enjoy that. I don't want to be back in the turmoil of jeopardy. Let's get to the top half of the table and have sort of jeopardy within that, so we're never worrying about going back to the Championship.
I don't know where you've got from what I've said that I want jeopardy, but let's move. We're going to eat up all of our valuable.
Tell me if you want. No, well then answer the question. Do you want jeopardy or not?
Of course not. Answer my question.
Do you want a little bit of pain to make the sweet, the bitter sweeter?
No, I don't. It drives me insane. All I've ever
sweet?
wanted was to finish comfortably 17th or 16th in the Premier League without the anxiety of relegation. It's not realistically to finish 17th and not have anxiety of relegation, so that automatically puts you a few positions higher in your desires. But
can I just say one thing? You do. I know secretly it's deep inside you. There's a little devil on your shoulder saying, "Let's have a little bit of jeopardy."
Saying desires.
Can I just say one thing about just I want to sort of riff off what you were saying there.
Go ahead.
The one thing I will say, I suppose, is I had a point that it was pretty good and now it's gone.
It's probably repetitive.
That wasn't what I was going to say. Oh, well,
probably the same.
That's life.
Yeah.
Move on. Lead for me, because I literally had a point built on the back of what you were saying.
Let's talk about...
I know what it is.
Yeah.
I know what it is. I found it again. I found it. I lost it in the tear. Pre-season I felt that we were in a bit of a better space. I think everyone did at Forest. And we always worried that we'd lose the first couple of games and then it would nosedive a little bit. But in reality, the calm and the sort of this moment or this feeling that we've had for the first time in 20, 30 years, it actually brewed from a really good preseason, which most people don't take as much notice of. But our preseason was really good. And even during preseason, I thought, we're going to be all right, next year. Even with the fact that there's better teams coming up than last season. So I just wanted to sort of riff off your point with that. You might think it was a waste of time. You're nodding like you would think it was. But look, we'll do whatever. I'm just going to check my video really quick to see if it's working. Okay, give me a sec. You carry on talking.
Okay, well, moving on. Let's talk about the Southampton game
It's
because
working.
thank God for that.
Okay. Smarmy. Smarmy, condescending, undermining, always the same. Go.
It is always the same. I've been saying that
Go.
so many times.
The game. We talk about the game.
Yeah,
Come
I
on,
haven't
let's
seen
talk
it. I
about
watched the highlights and listened to all the feedback after the game. Thank God we won. Thank God we won the game. Great news, because I was hoping to get off to a 3 out of 3 start. We've won 1 out of 2. And let's see what Wolves brings. But yeah, I expected to win, so I'm not over the moon. I'm more thrilled. Just bigger pictures, exciting.
Did you watch the game back or just the highlights?
Just the highlights a couple of times, a few like crowd shots, and then listen to a load of the content that's out there.
Okay, well, I can tell you this. I watched the entire game, obviously, because I was talking about it after the game on another podcast. But I just Forest Focus. But I genuinely wanted to. I don't think you or Dr. Sassman will watch the whole game. We genuinely had full control that first half. Like it was ridiculous. But I've never seen Forest do that in an away game. Like it was not even when we beat Sheffield United 3-1 away last year. It was full control. We just couldn't finish our dinner. So obviously, Wood will score one week, but the next week he won't, or the wingers might not produce. So we are in need of a striker. But that first half was full control, lockdown, and we should have been 2-0 up at half time, but we just didn't take our chances.
It sounded like we should have scored more than one goal and that we couldn't.
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, the stats show we had 23 shots and 8 shots on target or something. So we were all over them. But
so do we have to be mindful not to get too confident, I guess? Like, why aren't we scoring more goals? Is it because of Chris Wood and Taiwo Awoniyi? Or
I think that Alanga and Callum Hudson-Odoi were being doubled up quite a bit in the first half. So Saints were wary of their pace and power and skill. So they throw 2 defenders on them. And I've mentioned this previously, but like we need the fullbacks to bomb on there so they can go in the overlap and open up some more space. Because if they're getting double up, they'll have to turn around and go back. And we don't necessarily want that, particularly when we're on transition. So I just think that it was reasonably good shape in defence from Southampton, but we did cut them open a couple of times and our set pieces weren't good enough. That was one thing you probably didn't see, is we had about 7 or 8 corners and they really weren't great. There was one that was good in the second half and it led to the goal eventually. But yeah, our set pieces were not good, which is something you've been talking about actually for the last year or two. Actually, something I have to give you a little bit of credit for. You've been mentioning them now. Morgan Gibbs-White wasn't on them. It was Alanga and Anderson, and
even Anderson's not any good.
But they weren't good. They weren't good, which was unusual. Like you usually get 50% of them. They weren't. It was literally like 20% of them were okay, and the other 80% were all useless. Weren't beating the first man.
It's just not our thing. It's just not. It hasn't been.
Well, it has to be our thing because it's a really important part of the game. It's not like we can't go, it's just not our thing. But it is.
Just
anyway,
not our
it
thing.
has to be. It has to be. Don't stop saying that.
Well, it has to be. Loads of things have to be our thing by that same notion. But yeah, I get what you're saying. So, moving forwards, we have beaten Southampton away. We've drawn at home to Bournemouth. We have.
You don't want to talk about Southampton at all. The game, is that it?
I think you've covered it, and like.
Well, we've
got a lot more to get through, haven't we?
Well, that's true, but we should just really quickly, and this is important, we should just really quickly say...
Did Brereton Diaz get his egg on his face at any point? That's a fun thing to... I've not...
Yeah, the whole way through the game. Couldn't score against us.
What about his relationship with the fans? Was it particularly venomous, or was it a bit of a dead rubber?
I think he's a reasonably good player, and he just looked limp the whole game. Just couldn't get round us, couldn't get past us, couldn't get a shot away.
Shocking against Newcastle the week before with that dive he did, though.
Yeah, I know, it was pathetic. But like,
completely embarrassing, man.
Yeah, it was. But like, he just didn't look at it, and we literally just looked like a superior team. It did look like a Premier League team against a Championship team, and me and you have an affinity with Southampton purely because
of our old flatmate, yeah.
Yeah, an avid Saints fan who was a season ticket holder. So we liked Southampton. And I look at them and I just thought, gosh, their only sort of danger man with that 18-year-old Dibbling that came on, and then Kyle Walker-Peters, who definitely is a Premier League player. Other than that, they didn't look at the races at all. So, look, we took advantage. It was only 1-0. But I do want to say, Morgan Gibbs-White, moments where he lost the ball, moments where he did a couple bits and pieces of genius. But for the most part, I love his effort and getting in on his own follow-up for the goal. That's what he's all about. He's a winner. So that's how I kind of want to round off the conversation about the Southampton game, because everyone else spoke about it in depth. So that's probably why you wanted to move on.
But it's not really why. I've just got nothing to add. I just think it's great that we won. Shame we didn't get more goals, and maybe some remnants of the same problems. We move on. We have to cover more time, more games to really understand how good a performance that was. We have to see how Southampton are good at it too. Apparently they're this year's Sheffield United. So suddenly it's like, we really needed to win, and we've, by all accounts, scraped a 1-0 win because we can get the ball in the back of the net most of the ways. But yeah, I'm not trying to be negative on it.
You are. You've just done the positive into the negative thing that I apparently did at the start of the show. But okay.
Yeah, true. But that was about, I was trying to celebrate something slightly silly because it is only 2 games in, and you went hard literal on that notion. It's like, whereas it's quite normal for Forest fans, and myself included, to get very excited when we win. And listen, I don't even have anything else to say. I don't even mean it to be that negative. I'm just saying, hold on to your hollyhocks for now, right?
Yeah, fine. What's next?
You tell me. You tell me.
Okay. See, well, I set up a memo before we got on, and then you rearranged it into the same memo with a couple of different bits and pieces. So I suppose
we're just trying to make it more conversational rather than because.
Yeah, well, we could just have a conversation then. But like,
I don't know if we could, but we'll try.
We're going to try.
Yeah.
Well, look, the window's nearing, right? And we might have a podcast the eve of the window, maybe the next day, I don't know, for pre-Wolves. But the window is nearing, and we should talk a little bit about some of the activity that's gone on the last few days, because it has been absolutely madness. You know, today we've been linked with Pereira from Fulham and James Ward-Prowse from West Ham. Whether they're going to go through or not, or even whether they're proper rumours or not, I don't know. What we do know is they're both great at set pieces, and they're both talented midfielders and reasonably good number 8s.
It's only worth doing it if we have to offload someone.
Well, hang on. Can I just pause there?
Yeah.
Though their position is number 8.
Yeah.
Right. Who's number 8?
Well, we've got lots of suitors for it.
Who's number 8 that got injured a week ago?
One of the number 8s was Danilo.
Yeah, one of the number 8s was Danilo. So when Danilo was playing and not injured in pre-season, were you thinking, oh gosh, we have to offload one of these midfielders? No, you weren't.
No, we were talking a few times, talking in previous podcasts about our flooded midfield and really who's going to lose out. Danilo goes, and it's a crying shame because he shouldn't be the one that misses out, but it loosened the strain on that conversation. Whereas if you bring in James Ward-Prowse while you've got Ryan Yates, while you've got Dominguez, while you've got Anderson, I just don't think it's sensible. Great, so he can take better free kicks and corners. You're going to have to lose something else in order to fit that into the squad. You're going to have to.
I disagree.
He's not going to come and sit on the bench or sit out.
No, I disagree. I think we came into the season with 5 midfielders: Yates, Sangare, Danilo, Anderson and Dominguez, and we're adding a 5th midfielder back since the horrific injury that Danilo suffered. That's all we're doing. And it's in that position. Danilo was great because he had played a 6th role before when he was in Brazil, but he primarily played the 8 since he was moulded into that since he came to us. But he was great because he could do both those things. If we lose one more midfielder, let's say we lose one more midfielder to injury, someone gets a hamstring and he's out for 5-6 weeks, all of a sudden we're Sangare, who was a little bit injured last season, we're Ryan Yates, and we're one of Anderson or Dominguez.
Okay, yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
bring him in.
So now you agree. I
don't. I just suddenly, I can't. If we got an injury, we might be a bit screwed. But actually, even if there's any part of the pitch we could handle another injury, it would be midfield. I'm talking more about the chemistry. Like, would you reckon Ward-Prowse would come and expect to start most games? Let me just start with that. Or Pereira. If either of them came, would they expect to start most games?
I think Ward-Prowse is experienced enough to understand that he might not necessarily start most games, but he'll probably play his way into the team. I think someone like Anderson is... Like Danilo was our starting 8 at the beginning of the season. That's the way it was. It was Sangare and Danilo. That's how he set up. And if he continued his form, he would have stayed as the 8. So Anderson wasn't even expecting to start. He might be expecting to start at some stage, but at the very beginning of the season, he wasn't even expecting to start. Now Anderson's in there. It's whether he can step up, and he did certainly do that.
I was saying, apparently he was fantastic against Southampton with Sangare.
Brilliant. Like, really, really good, especially first half. The weird thing about watching a player in these games is you notice the stuff in the first half and then you kind of forget about it if his last 10, 20 minutes isn't great. But for the most part, Anderson was brilliant. And the first half, he was really, really good in the tackle and really good turning on the ball. He was quick. Yeah, it was great. He was really good. But so I would have had him at the starting 8 from the beginning of the season anyway. But I think we need that backup, and we're going to have a lot of rotation. We've got cup games coming up, one on Wednesday. We've got a load of league games. We've had injury scares before a couple of seasons ago where we needed players desperately. So I think Ward-Prowse could start quite a few games, but I think he could also be benched quite a few games. I think he could also come on at 60 minutes and swing in some corners.
What about the whole notion from all summer? It's been said by loads of people, including you, including myself and everyone else, that Nuno wants a smallish squad. And we're going to get onto strikers in a second, but we're going to want to bring a striker in. At what point do we go, hang on, we're trying to get rid of numbers, maintain quality in a great squad? And I don't know, there's just something about it that feels a bit overflowy just because he's brilliant at set pieces.
I don't think so. Well, anyway, we're talking about Ward-Prowse a bit too much because it's just a rumour. And by the time this is released, it might have been quashed completely. So we've wasted a little bit of time on that, and that's mostly my fault.
We should have talked more about Nketiah and Thingy last week because we preempted that and we didn't bother.
We did, Nketiah.
And I didn't really know what you were talking about. And then suddenly the next day it was all the news. We could have faked ourselves as little sources to the network.
Yeah, you couldn't, but yeah, I suppose I might. I'm joking. I'm just giving myself some fake praise.
We know.
All right. I think, sorry, just to go back on this, the conversation is less about James Ward-Prowse or Andreas Pereira from Fulham. It's more about the number 8 role or number 6. Do we need another utility midfielder? And obviously Gibbs White can drop back in if we have any injuries, but we don't want that to happen. We want him to stay in his best position. But do we have any other need for a utility midfielder? And I said, what's the harm? And you're saying, no, we don't. And I'm just saying, I've been through the injury, so have you. We don't need any more. So in my eyes, we do need another midfielder just to cover us. It's a long old season.
Maybe on loan or something. Then just so.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, maybe that might be the best way. Actually, that's a sensible shout.
Another rumour begins. Let's go on to the strikers, Chris, because that's been a big old back and forth. I've barely had time to look at it properly, but it's 1 minute it's Nketiah, the next it's Jimenez, and Jimenez is definitely not coming. Then something about Nketiah wants too much money, but it's just crazy, right? I think we're all at a place where we know it must be awful to be Chris Wood or Taiwo, right? It's like, right, this club want another striker to start before me, likely.
No. I think Chris Wood's fine. I think he's happy enough. I think he'll probably start until he plays himself out of form. I think he's experienced enough. He's been through it. Taiwo, it's difficult because he was the number 1 striker. The only reason he's not playing is because he's not fit. He's our best striker. Like, that's it. Even if Nketiah came, Jimenez, obviously we don't know his quality just yet. We've seen him in the Dutch League. But if anyone came in, unless they're an absolute supreme top striker, I would say that Taiwo's our best striker. But he's just got injuries, so it's tough for him to watch Chris Wood flourish and at the same time watch another striker come in who might be battling for the number 1 position.
And when you say he's not fit, it's because he's not fit. Is that literally because of an injury last season? And why is he not fit? Was it that bad an injury and groin operation or whatever it was he had that set him back that far?
He had a couple of injuries, didn't he? So it wasn't just he had one the season before where he was out for months, and then he had another one. And I don't know if it was a reoccurrence of the same one, but he had another big injury. So he's had 2 big injuries in each season that he's been with Forest. So you're almost waiting for it to happen again, and maybe it's just caused him issues ever since. I don't actually know. I'm not.
Sorry, I know you're, and I'm not. Sorry, I know I'm not trying to pretend you're some kind of medical professional. But I am asking you to speculate, just because we're in a conversation and doing a podcast, and it's an interesting.
But I am speculating.
Good.
Speculate with the facts. The facts are he had 2 big injuries with us, so obviously.
And I'm going. I wonder what it is he's had because it's not like there hasn't been recovery time or time to get fit.
Well, do you specifically want me to point to a body part? It's the groin, is it?
Well, I don't know.
It's your elbow.
I wonder why it is.
It's your head. It's a groin. I don't know. Like, are we in a biology class? What are you asking me? Ask me the question.
Nice to be, I guess. I'm asking you what it might be because you said he's not fit, and I guess my response to that would have been, but there has. why is he playing at all then? Because there's definitely been time to get fit, right? Is that?
Yeah, but he's only just come
I guess
back.
I wonder if there's anything else going on.
Did he? Did he have a full pre-season? Yes or no?
No.
Well, there you go. So obviously it takes time to get fitness back. Most of the lads had a full pre-season. He didn't.
But wasn't that for other issues? He was only starting late because of it wasn't to do with his injury, according to what we know. It was to do with family issues or something.
Okay, so now you're speculating. Why don't I ask you the questions? You seem to know more than me. All right, I'll ask you the questions.
Yeah.
What do you speculate it is?
I wonder if in his heart...
You wonder?
Well, that's what speculating is.
Go for it.
Is it? Is that not what speculating is?
You tell me. Speculate on Nottingham Forest and Taiwo Wanyi.
I just did, and then you went, oh, I wonder. Like I wouldn't,
No,
I wouldn't say I wonder.
Well, I wonder if you can get on with the sentence.
Let's move on.
I was just adding to it. I wasn't even...
You weren't.
Okay, I'm sorry.
It's become a bigger thing than it needs to be. I just thought it was interesting to the demise of him, as he was a big number 9, and I'm sure it is like we say, we don't know anything about his medical condition, but I'm just sort of wondering if there's anything else going on, and in his heart and in his mind, things have changed for whatever reason. Might be something deeply personal, but it could be that he's just gone. He can't get back to where he was due to, I don't know, whatever reason. I don't know. I think if your heart's in it, your mind's in it, the communication would be better from either him or the club on his behalf. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. There's just something up, and it's very sad.
It is sad because he is, in my opinion, our best striker, and I think, just going on what you said, I think it's physical, right? I really do. I don't think it's a mental thing. I think it's a physical thing. That's my
good to know.
My opinion is I think it's physical. He's gone through 2 big injuries, and then it becomes a mental thing, and then it all feeds into itself. You know what I mean? So, but I do think he'll be back. Even if we get 60, 70 minutes out of him, most games, that would be great. But let's quickly go into the speculation about the 2 strikers that we don't.
Yes, the thing we're actually going to speak about.
If I check my phone now, I'm going to have completely contrasting reports from various different outlets that are meant to be. What's the word? Legitimate. So one is saying that
you're like the Little Mermaid. What's that word again?
Okay. one is saying that Jimenez is coming and Feyenoord have agreed a price with us and he's agreed terms. Another one is saying that the deal is off. There's all these contrasting reports going on. Obviously, this happened with Nketiah. We then thought it was over the line. Now it's off. That deal is definitely off, apparently. Who knows what happens in the next 48 hours. But apparently that deal is definitely off. And Palace are now looking to move in on Nketiah. Now, are you quickly on Nketiah, right? Are you sad about that deal potentially falling through?
No, I feel like it's the right thing for it to fall through. With him coming, it felt like it was going to, I don't know, speculation again. I guess that's all this is. But I was forcing myself to go, this is good for Forest, this is good for Forest. And there was a chance. There was, of course, a massive chance that he could have come and made himself and made Forest and gone up. But there's just something about it and him. I think he wants in his head something bigger and better. And I don't believe he wants to come to Forest. And I just think for the kind of money and the kind of... I mean, it is the going rate as well. But there's just something about the Jimenez idea, which is risky. He has not proven in the Premier League. It just feels... He hasn't already got a profile in the same way that Nketiah has in this country. And actually, I just feel this has worked out for the best.
Okay, fair play to you. You've summed it up really well, to be fair. The only thing I'll say is... I get that sort of worrying sort of feeling as a Forest fan that Nketiah goes to Palace and then he ends up doing really well there. And then
I'm sure
Jimenez comes in and then doesn't do as well and we're all kind of looking over our shoulder. But to be fair, he wanted a massive amount of money and for once, or not for once, but certainly for once in recent times, it looks like we've made a really sensible decision with wages and just gone, no, that's enough. We're not going to... You know what I mean?
Well,
I think that's what it looks like. I don't know.
Going off the back of what a lot of people have said, and it seems to make sense, and it seems to be consistent. Eddie Nketiah would have been great, but it doesn't sound like he has the attributes that Forest need to help patch up where Chris Wood and Taiwo Wanyi aren't very strong. It sounds to me like he needs as much... Do you know what I mean? He looks like an electric, exciting player, and if we had the look... I'd love to have Nketiah playing for Forest if he wanted to, and he'd be a great forward player for our lineup. Be brilliant. But you need remember he played a season at Leeds in the Championship and he was excellent there. I wished we had him then.
Well, I think Statsman Will said he didn't do too well there, but I spoke to a Leeds fan and said he was really, really good.
Yeah, it might have even been goals complete, but he was one of the stars of the Championship that year, wasn't he? In my memory, he was.
To be honest, I'll be honest with you, I don't remember. Like, all I know is my brother's an Arsenal fan, so I watch a lot of Arsenal. And Nketiah, every time he's got on the pitch, has excited me. I'll never forget his hat-trick at Stamford Bridge. It was just electric. And forgetting the goals per games ratio, which is actually better than it looks because he hasn't had as many starts. I do think he's an electric player and I do think he'll do really well. But I think you're right in general. I think it's for the best that we didn't bring him in. It's for a reason. Our transfer business this summer has been really sensible. And if we're to continue in that vein of form, I'm just really happy to let them deal with it because they've dealt with bringing Milenkovic in and they've dealt with bringing in a 6'8" goalkeeper as backup for Sells. They've dealt with bringing in Anderson. They've dealt with bringing in a lot of players who are going to add a lot to our
I've got one for you. Would you take Nketiah and Jimenez if we sold Taiwo 1 year?
The two of them?
Yeah, so we sell Taiwo and they buy Nketiah and Jimenez, and we have Wood as number 3, or just there are 3 choices, depending on what we're doing.
I would.
That'd be great, wouldn't it? It's sad to say.
But I won't say yes because I'm still waiting for the Taiwo
the Taiwo dream
story. Taiwo dream, and
I've got a Taiwo dream.
And Taiwo's already given us a lot of dreams, so I should give my heart to him and let him and believe that he can do it for us and end the movie.
I should say, like I've said it. It doesn't matter if I said it before or not. I've said it on other podcasts, on our other episodes. He is the one person I want to do well at Forest more than anyone. I love him so much, more than Ryan Yates.
You said this 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Literally on this podcast.
Because of what I said earlier, I was just speculating because it's curious. It's very weird as a fan to be around that when you start thinking about it, and that's all I was trying to discuss, but we weren't quite on the same page. Anyway,
fair enough. Well,
wanted to flag that I really like Taiwo, and I do hope he'd come as brilliant for Forest, and we don't sell him for the 2. But it's just an interesting switch of places. You go, Jimenez and Nketiah and Chris Wood make for a frightening rotation of 3 strikers. Great Premier League side would have that.
Yeah. Well, no, it would be. And look, I think what you were talking about earlier was Nketiah is a bit of a different profile player. But I mean, look, we can't really speculate or talk about it because as of now, no strikers come in, but it looks like Jimenez is now the one that might be coming in. And
we're not the news, though. We're just 2 mates chatting about what if, what might. Do you know what I mean? So that's cool. I know it's not.
Yeah, it is cool.
We're not. It's not like people are going to sue us because we're spreading fake news about...
Okay, well, you never know, Matt. Look, you spread a lot of fake news.
You said this about Eddie Nketiah.
Right, look, mate. Let's move on to something else. Cause let's move off the transfer stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just kind of want to talk about like this Wednesday Newcastle game that's kind of slipping under the radar as if it's nothing. You know what I mean? Like, I think most people are still looking ahead at Wolves and looking back in the rearview mirror at the weekend and the Southampton win. But like, we have the City Ground rocking.
I'm gutted I can't
Wednesday night lights
gutted
against Newcastle. Say again? Sorry?
I'm gutted I can't go. Gutted. It'd be great to go. I'm well excited for it. It's going to be on Sky at least. Yeah.
And my mate Davis is a big Newcastle fan. You've met Davis. You and him get on famously.
Yeah. I do get on with him.
I just love a game against. I love the fact that we've had an early big tie against Newcastle. Now, look, I'd like to get further in the cup, and this might prevent that. Newcastle are gunning to get further in any trophy at the moment. So, but I just want to talk about it a little bit. Do you think we're going to set up this Wednesday with a strong team, or do you think we'll experiment a little bit?
Completely guessing. Because again, there's one part of me goes, you know what, he's going to keep just, you know what Nuno's like, he's so pragmatic, and I think he'll keep trying to develop the side, actually. But it is a good opportunity to let Carlos Miguel, is that his name? The tall keeper?
Mm-hmm.
Let him go in goal, get Moreira on the field, get Jota Silva playing, get Sosa bled in a little bit. Do you know what I mean? We've got so many new players that I think he needs to... I actually think it's beneficial for the cause I mentioned in the first part of that answer for him to use new players. So yes, I think he's going to bleed new talent. I don't think it'll be like a B team, but he's going to work very hard to maybe, I don't know, swap out Morgan Gibbs-White and put in Anderson in that role. Get Sosa in for Hudson-Odoi. Keep Elanga and maybe sub him for Jota Silva. Yeah.
I just got distracted there.
Yeah.
Just really quickly, just a side note. You're wearing a hat again.
Yeah. We talked about it at the beginning.
Is this? No, but I just sort of glazed over this. If it was normal. Is this? Can you just lean down because I can't see it? It's in your camera, but it's not in my camera. No, to me. Lean to me. Right, you've worn that one before, right?
Yeah, it's my Forest hat.
But is this what you're doing now? Is this a bit? Is this what you're going to do from now on?
A
lot of people are asking.
What are they asking?
Why are you wearing the hats or the headgear so often? Like, what's going on? People are asking.
There'll
be more of that in the review corner.
People are asking what?
I don't want to ruin the review corner. There's a couple of people mentioning.
You ask me. What are you asking me?
I'm asking you, is this a bit? Like, are you just doing this as sort of like a character? Laurel and Hardy? Like, what?
No.
But then why are you doing it?
Well, why not?
You're answering a question with a question. Like,
no, that's it. But why not do it? That's right. It's my hat. It's a Forest hat.
But you haven't always worn the Forest hat. You've worn a scarf. You've worn a Scottish hat. You're wearing
because I wanted to
all
try
the
and
time.
disguise myself while we were going on YouTube. Now, I know that's not definitely going to happen all the time, but it was an attempt, and now it's just something I like to do.
Well, I don't really have an answer to that. That's fair enough. We'll see you in the review corner later.
All right.
Moving on. Back to Newcastle, right? So, look. Who do you think we're going to line up with during the week against Newcastle? Obviously, you mentioned Miguel a second ago. Who do you think we're going to line up with? Give me a back four. Like, give me the full team. 4-2-3-1 or 4.
Look, I reckon he rests Sana. I can't really give you. I'll tell you people I think he's going to leave out for the people who are going to come in.
All right. Fine.
I think swaps the keeper.
Mm-hmm.
I think in the back four, he probably keeps Milenkovic for sure. And maybe puts Bamadeli in there with Milenkovic. Are they both? They're not both same-footed, are they? Not that matters because we've had a load of left-footed ones before. I think it's going to be Milenkovic and Bamadeli stuck in with Moreira and Nico Williams on the other side.
Okay.
Have we got
So
any left?
you think
Moreno. He'll pop Moreno in.
I don't think he'll pop Moreno in straight away.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be a completely fresh back four, will it? That'd be mad.
No, but I think he'll do. I think Murillo will play because he always generally plays. I think Bolly will come in. Or maybe actually, you know what? I actually do think it's going to be a fresh back four. I think it's going to be Bamadeli, Willy Bolly, Harry Toffolo, and Moreira. There you go. There's my back four.
Yeah,
and then the middle two, Yates will start. It's a typical game for Yates. He'll play in the 6. And Dominguez will play the 8. So I think it's. Hang on. Am I going to give a full fresh team here?
And then
Miguel,
it'll be
Toffolo.
Yeah.
On the right back, Moreira, Bamadeli, Bolly, Yates, and Dominguez. And then I think
it's got to be a game for Sosa. Come on.
Yeah, Sosa, Jota Silva, and who's in the middle?
I think Jota Silva gets brought on later. I think you got to keep a Langer or someone from that normal lineup in there.
Do you know what? I'll say this. I think he changes at least 9 out of the 11 players.
Yeah. So we up front, who's it going to be? It's going to be Taiwo, isn't
it? Yeah, it is. Yeah, yeah. I think he'll start Taiwo. I think get Taiwo some fresh legs in there, and I think he'll start Taiwo. But look, are you just in a general point about the League Cup? Like, is this something you really want to win, or would you be okay or nonplussed if we?
Well, in the Oracle Cup, I've said we're going to get to the quarters or the semis, so I need to win this to maintain any sort of credibility in our little league, in our WhatsApp group. So I want to win. Yeah, I want to go far in both cups this year.
Is that the only reason you want to win?
No, the main reason is I want Forest to actually not. It's so early in the season. You want the fun to last till January, February, and FA Cup kicks off. It's just great for us to get that far. It gives our other players opportunities to play in big games under the lights. So I really want us to go far in this competition. Don't you? Doesn't every Forest fan?
Yeah, I mean, but some people are a little more nonplussed about domestic trophies than others, particularly when the league is more important.
They wouldn't be if they were in the ground when it was being played, or if we got as far as the quarterfinals. They'd be well into it.
Yeah, I mean, I've realised that over the last 3 years. I always said I don't care about cup competitions. I just want to get promoted for the last 25 years.
You care about it when it's going well. It's just the work to get to it.
That's my point. When we got to the quarterfinals of the FA Cup against Liverpool in 2022, or when we got to the semi-finals of the League Cup against Man United in 2023, I was like, hang on a second, this is magic. We are 2 games away from winning, and it became a big thing. So, of course, now I've changed my mind completely.
Yeah.
I think we I think Newcastle will come on really strong. And if they don't get a goal early, they'll feel the pressure because Howe needs to do well in domestic trophies this year. And they didn't look great the first couple of games, Newcastle. They look pretty poor, actually. Shar might still be out because his red card might be carried over to the League Cup. I think the League Cup and the League, they coincide with cards. Maybe not. I think we could get it Dan Burn if he's playing. I think Newcastle will be really nervy the back 30 minutes. So if they don't score early, they're going to be in serious trouble and under a pressure cooker. So I think it goes to penalties and we win. I think it's 1-1. I think they score first with like 20 minutes to go. They try and hang on. We level. Taiwo levels. And then I think we go to penalties and I think we win. Because we don't lose penalty shootouts. So
we don't, but we've lost Joe Worrell.
You pushed on to something.
There's something about Joe Worrell.
Sorry.
And our penalty quality. I don't know why I've got those two things connected. It looks like the best penalty taker. There's just something about us winning penalty shootouts and Joe Worrell. I've got a big link between. Do you know what I mean?
I don't know. The only link I can think of is him scoring on down the middle against Wolves in the quarterfinal on his 200th appearance. Look, we may as well talk about Joe Worrell really quickly. I mentioned it on the last podcast before the pre-Saints game. I really just want to say, I don't care. Like all the stuff that's happened in the recent, I don't really care or want to talk about any of that. I literally just want to talk about the feelings that we had as fans towards him when he first broke through the ranks. He was there in the Limucci moment where we bottled it in the playoffs. He was there when we were like 17th. He was there scrapping around. He was there giving out to the reporters, or not giving out to the reporters, complaining about our own players who weren't trying hard enough. He was a proper captain from start to finish. I just want to say, he's never, ever, 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 ever played a single minute in a loss to Derby. He's been on the bench once or twice where we've lost, but he never come on. He's played about 12 games against them, never a loss. He's never played a loss against Leicester City. That 4-0, he wasn't playing in and he didn't come off the bench. So he hasn't played a single minute in a loss against those teams. That's something that means something to me. And what means something to me as well is he captained us back to the Premier League and was our first Premier League captain in 23 years. I have nothing but respect for him and I wish him all the best. And I just want to say, he has given us some fantastic moments, and it's really hard being a defender. If you're a defender in a game, you look bad so quickly, and you don't look good so quickly. So I just want to have a big shout out to Joe Worrell, and I know there's big moments. Name your favorite Joe Worrell moment quickly.
It's the Leicester game when he got on the floor and he headed it against someone's shin to win a corner from the floor.
Dewsbury Hall, who now plays for Chelsea, and also he scored a goal in that game as well. Right.
Also, him getting in the keep. I was at the game where he went in goal for Samba when Samba got sent off. That was pretty cool.
Do you remember that? That was against Stoke City when we drew.
I had a really good angle on it, filming it as well for us to post, and I cut the camera when it should have rolled, and I rolled it at the end. I was like, oh no!
What a special moment that was. Joe Worrell in goals and Ryan Yates scoring a header. That's pretty cool, isn't it?
Yeah,
same game.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the mid-timer because I've got to beep that out. I accidentally said. Sorry.
Okay. Right. Let's go. Let's do a review corner and then we'll sound out of here. Review corners. Right. There isn't many. Right. But there's a couple here. There's a few people who reached out. JJ from Miss Rolling In Podcast. A couple other people have reached out asking about that hat. And no, but just there was a few people who reached out. I think. Who else? Gosh,
this hat that I'm wearing now.
Yeah, but do you want me to be honest with you? Everyone has reached out about it. Like literally everyone who watches or listens to the podcast who's kind of friends with us as well has reached out about it.
It's people we know.
Yeah, no, but also...
let's see if any strangers that listen to this have anything to ask us in the next weeks.
Well, okay.
Because if it's people we know, it's funny, isn't it? It's like...
Well, it is funny if it's people... I mean,
go on, tell me.
People... Anyway, look, we've got NFFC Southwest said, how big is Matt's hat budget this season? Stockpiling them like Chelsea. Hope there's PSR issues for you guys. Great episode as always. That was the last one. That's NFFC or NFFC.
It's a very
Southwest.
small budget, but I live way outside of my means, so it might be depending on where I am. If I can't get hold of this, I think I've only worn two, haven't I?
You've worn a scarf on your head a few times. Next one. Forest scarf all over your head, and then you've had the Scottish hat as well. I don't know how many you've done.
Depending on where I am, whatever I can get my hands on, I think is my main thing. 2 minutes before the we record. I'm like, what can I hide?
Next one is this. This is from Nottingham Forest, and maybe you can put this on the screen, but it is a picture of you cartooned
wow.
with a hat. So pop this up on the screen.
It's up on the screen. Look up at it
so
now.
This is.
Look up at it
by the
now.
way, this is.
Let's look up at it together, Chris. Let's look up at it together. Wow,
okay,
look at that.
Hey! Well, it's not. It's just ridiculous. Like,
okay, pull it down. Pull it down.
Okay, all right. It's gone. So he wrote hats all over the world and did a little tune of you.
Was that Jimmy?
He's brilliant, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jimmy NFFC, Nottingham Forest. Like did the opening for Red Side of the Trent's, done loads of stuff for various different podcast people. He's very, very talented. Check him out.
I was in touch with him.
And then someone else wrote, if you ever need a Chris Emmer sound alike on the pod, let me know. So that's Capernosity and Function.
Oh, wow.
Someone's saying
me and that person can have a Chris impression off.
That's everything. Well, there was more, but I just didn't have time to get them all together. It was all about the hat. All right?
Right. Well, I've got another one. I've got more for you. I want to know why.
Oh, I've got one.
Yeah.
I've got another review corner. I'll give you one and then you can sound off on yours, all right? I was scrolling across YouTube there recently, and your favourite listener just keeps popping up, Edwin, and he randomly popped up saying, trying to disguise himself like you with the hat, saying something like, Matt is the king, calling all the way from Kyrgyzstan. And I'm like, what? Who's this? And then I found out it was Edwin. On Instagram, he's posting, no Matt, no party whenever you're not on a podcast. So like, it's just, he's popping up, trolling me sort of left, right and centre. So give a shout out to your inverted commas favourite listener.
I'm going to do an episode with Edwin, I think.
I've done one with
Although
Edwin,
it could turn into just,
there.
I don't want it to just be like this horrible, like, I'm not on him, I'm on me. It could get out of hand. We need to bring him on as part of the three-way, but then it could just be like us two backing you in the corner, because I'll end up just agreeing.
Yeah, but he's a Man United fan. Last time he was on, he was very disrespectful to me, even though he's my friend. So let's drift off.
You're so disrespectful to Man United fans and Man United in general.
What?
You are.
Shut your mouth. Like, they've had loads of glory in the past. How dare you?
Your mouth.
Oh, just follow us at
Forest all over
on Instagram. Or at NFFC all over on
YouTube,
Twitter. Follow us at Forest all over on YouTube as well. Please like and subscribe. This likes to help. Also, rate our audio podcast as well. Spotify, Apple. That does help. Please do like and subscribe. It is helpful.
Yeah.